born naked, and the rest is drag. This is RuPaul's Supermodel of the World. I first discovered drag through watching Bugs Bunny on television. It wasn't about misogyny. It was about playing with all the colors in the crayon box. He had no judgment on it. He used drag as a tool to get where he wanted to go and also to amuse himself. It was his way of sort of thumbing his nose up at the world and the status quo. The status quo is a male-dominated society. So, for a man to do drag in our culture is really akin to an act of treason, because boys are not supposed to behave that way, and and it's almost like a slap in the face, because it's the male culture is like, well, why wouldn't you want to be just like us? Well, because I think that's boring. Also, drag isn't about putting down women. It's really a statement on the synthetic, commercialized version of what a woman is.
When did you know, though, that this art form and this form of creativity for you, when did you know you wanted it to be a career?
I'm in this rock band, and we would do gimmicks for every show to entertain ourselves and entertain our audience. So once we got up into drag, as we call it, up into drags, people were amazed at how powerful I was, how sexy I was. I'd never gotten that reaction from people before. So I said, note to self, this could be useful.
You've said that drag didn't save your life, that it gave you life. How did it do that?
Drag gave me life by helping me to realize my own power. Years ago, many years ago, a therapist said to me, you know, Ru, the power that you have in drag is available to you when you're out of drag. It had never occurred to me. Being a middle child from a tumultuous marriage that my parents, I knew how to shapeshift. I could laugh, I could sing, I could dance, I could tell jokes to neutralize a fiery situation. And so finding drag, I understood it was another tool to shapeshift and change how people would perceive me.
You have talked about, in your late 20s that you weren't sure that your career could actually happen. How did you get to the other side?
Around the time of 28, or actually at 28, is when Saturn returns to the place it was when you were born. And usually it's a very difficult time, and I equate it to when Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz finally, after such a long journey, gets to Oz, looks behind the curtain and goes, wait a minute, you're the wizard? It's that kind of a letdown where everything that you had based your journey on was not at all what you thought it would be. So when I was in that place, I wound up out here in Los Angeles, sleeping on my younger sister's couch at the end of my road, and I persevered by just digging my feet in and weathering the storm. A good friend of mine, a member of my tribe, Larry T., who I met in Atlanta, he was living in New York at the time, he called and said, Ru, what are you doing? What are you going through? He said, get your butt back to New York and get back into the game. So I did it. I got back to New York. I said, you know what? No more mucking around. I'm going to go for it. And people love me in drag. I'm going to shave my legs. I'm going to shave my chest. I'm going to give them what they've wanted. People will tell you what they want from you. I'm going to give them full-on drag. So that's what I did. And that was the beginning of the RuPaul that you see today.
Earlier this year, you won your first Emmy for your show Drag Race. Was that a sign to you that something in culture is shifting, or at least there's more of an acceptance of it?
With the Emmy win, which I'm so happy for the people who work with me and being part of the system and the industry, because it is a sign of acceptance from the industry. I'm happy for that. But, Hollywood doesn't have a moral obligation. It has a monetary obligation. So if something sells a lot of tickets, then they'll make more of that. You know what I mean? I think the Emmy win has more to do with a certain trend towards appearing to be more accepting.
What would be one thing that you hoped people learned from you about your career?
You know, drag has taught me that even this body is temporary. You're born naked and the rest is drag. Don't take it all too seriously.
If you were to write a letter to yourself when you were ascending in your career, what advice, career advice, would you have given yourself?
The lesson I wish I had known was that your sweetness and your kindness, which had always been sort of you thought was a detriment to you, is actually really your power. In a male-dominated culture, you know, we're taught, be strong and lift yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, the truth is, I've learned that actually surrender and vulnerability actually are our strengths. And I've also learned that, you know, because the fear was that being so vulnerable, people can hurt you. Well, go ahead, hurt me. I can heal myself. Know thyself and embrace it.